A couple years ago, I put together a video on whether it's too hot to grow in a greenhouse, and that video is still getting tons of traction year over year. So it gets me thinking that there's still this general curiosity around whether it makes sense to have a greenhouse and whether a greenhouse is better than a garden. Which wins, right? In what situation? So I'm going to talk through exactly when I think a greenhouse is better and when I think my outdoor garden is better in this video. I kind of started for many years just using a greenhouse as like a season extension tool. So I have this whole bed pretty much. Those are all plants that I started super early. Like I was planting in here in February. And because my gardening season typically doesn't start until like April, maybe sometimes even May for some people, the greenhouse allowed me to get plants in here faster. So that's how I grew for many years. Right? I just grew as a season extension. I got my plants in earlier in the spring and I could leave them in here longer in the fall when my outdoor plants started to die. Couple years ago though, I just planted some cucumbers in here just because I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep them in here for a while and then I'll put them out into my regular garden. So I had cucumbers outside in my outdoor garden and I had cucumbers in my greenhouse. So when I came in here that summer, the very first time, I was so surprised to see I had a bunch of cucumbers. Like I hadn't trellised it, I hadn't done anything with it. Again, I think I forgot about it. But I was like, oh wow, there's some cucumbers in here. So I'd start harvesting them. And then I'd come in, a week later and something like that. And then they'd be huge cucumbers. There'd be more and more. And it was just like sprawling all over the place, these cucumbers. And for comparison, in my outdoor garden, I would probably get, I'd say like in the 5 to 10 range of cucumbers per plant in a typical season. I don't have great results with cucumbers in my outdoor garden. So I was so surprised to see so many cucumbers in here. So you can get your plants in your greenhouse way earlier than you can outside because it's that extra level of protection. The other reason that the cucumbers were so successful is because it gets hot in here. Even right now, I'm filming this in July and I'll get a shot of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decent sized cucumbers on the plant right now. And more growing, I can see. And that's just this one. I have cucumbers there. I have little cucumbers back there. So if you have a heat loving plant, if you have peppers, if you have eggplant, if you have cucumbers, and you struggle with those plants outside, greenhouse is absolutely going to help you get better results out of those plants. I'm standing here beside a very large, dead now, sunflower. So I didn't plant these. Some critter planted these sunflowers in here, and I didn't know what this was. I saw these coming up, and this is right where I had cucumbers the very first time. So I thought, oh, maybe it's a cucumber cropping up because I did have cucumbers that were so big, they formed seeds. So I thought, oh, maybe this is a cucumber. I'll just let it be. I do love cucumbers. And then I saw it growing and growing and growing, and then eventually it hit the ceiling, and then now you can see it's fallen over. I'm filming this in the middle of July. For comparison, I'll walk you out there, but the cucumbers in my outdoor garden are still small. So you can see here, I've got a couple sunflowers in front of me. These are my outdoor sunflowers. There's actually one that's pretty big, but most of them are small, right? They're all pretty small. They're not even close. Even this one is not close to forming a head yet. And the one that was inside my greenhouse is done flowering. It's falling over. It's forming the sunflower seeds right now. So you can see just how much the heat affected the growth of that plant. Sunflowers, though, are a perfect example of something that I wouldn't care about growing in my greenhouse. They're not a great use of greenhouse space, but I thought I'd just show it to you to prove a point, just to show like the heat factor in a greenhouse in the summer can like skyrocket the plant growth. So when is a greenhouse worth it, and when do you just not bother? When would I rather use a greenhouse versus my raised beds? When would I rather use my greenhouse versus like an open field with no protection? I'm gonna give you 4 clear winners why a greenhouse beats outdoor growing. and then why I think it doesn't. When I think it's better to be growing outside. The first reason is for plants that struggle in your climate. I have a fig tree right there, and I planted it this year. I have tried a few times to grow figs outside. I'm in zone 6B, and figs don't really, I'm like at the border of when figs survive my climate. I had it survive one winter, but it didn't come back the following one. So I have not been successful trying to grow figs outside in my outdoor garden. So I am growing figs because I can't successfully grow it outside. Another reason back here is rosemary. So rosemary is another one where I plant it every spring, and I have to pull it every fall because it will die over the winter. And, that's fine. It's okay. I don't mind planting things year after year. But if I can get it in my greenhouse, and I love rosemary, and I'd love to have a lot of rosemary and not be like rationing my rosemary in the winter. So I put it in here this year. And again, I picked a variety of rosemary that works in zone 7. So you can't grow anything, right? I couldn't put a lemon tree in here. Lemon tree is typically like zone 9. I'm in zone 6. That is too big of a gap. So I can't grow anything in my greenhouse, but if I'm in zone 6, can I grow something in zone 7? Yeah, probably. So a greenhouse is a perfect reason or a perfect use of being able to grow things that you maybe can't grow outside. The second reason I love my greenhouse versus outdoors is when I want to get something faster. I talked about my cucumbers, right? So I have many cucumbers growing right now. And I'm filming this in July. If it was my outdoor garden, I probably wouldn't have any yet. I might have one growing, but I would not get cucumbers this fast in my outdoor garden. Over here, I'll get a shot for you. I have peppers and eggplant growing as well. Also classic heat-loving plants. I can get them outside, but I can get them faster and I can get more of them in my greenhouse. So if you want to get your harvest earlier for certain plants, absolutely, a greenhouse is a clear winner. The next one was a little bit shocking to me, and I hesitated talking about this until I saw enough proof, at least from my own experience, that this is true. And now I have, so I feel safe to say it. Plants that get hit hard by pests outside, I have noticed don't get hit as hard in my greenhouse. And it's interesting because I have my windows open, I have my doors open, I don't have screens. There's bees flying around right there. Like things can get in here. I'm not blocking it from the outdoor elements. I'm just trying to keep it warm. I keep it open because it's very hot in here and I want some airflow. But I have found that I have kale, I have broccoli, I have cabbage, kohlrabi growing in there, all different kinds of brassicas. And typically brassicas get hit with the cabbage moth and those little green caterpillars that like to eat your entire brassica plant. And I do struggle with them in my outdoor garden. I have a whole video on pest management if you want to check out how I handle them. But I don't even have to do those strategies in here. I just find I have a tiny little bit of bug damage. I'm not even sure if it's from that. But I don't have to do anything in here. They're just good. They're just fine. And the cabbage moth could absolutely fly in here and lay its eggs on my plants. It just doesn't. So if you struggle with pests outside, worth a try if you have a greenhouse to see if you have those same struggles inside your greenhouse. And reason number 4, to push the boundaries of the seasons. So in the spring, I was planting in my raised bed. These are new, so I didn't plant in here early, but these beds here, I planted in them in February. In February, the garden centers around here, some of them aren't even open. I have to buy my seeds online because I can't even always buy seeds around here. So I can't buy any plants to be putting into my garden. I have to start everything from seed if I want to plant that early. But I can grow in my raised beds, in my greenhouse, in February, where I live. And normally my last frost is April. So a lot of people around here aren't even talking about gardening until April or May. In fact, I hear people say the May long weekend is when you can actually plant outside. I'm getting an extra 3 months over those folks that are using that rule. So you can absolutely push the boundaries. You can get your plants in here sooner. And then on the flip side, in the fall, you plant things in here and then you kind of let it grow almost to where it needs to go to, like to its full maturity or almost its full maturity. By the time it starts, your days start to get shorter. And then you can leave the plants in here almost like a little fridge throughout the fall and even into the winter, depending on the plants. So I have lots of content on that of winter gardening in the greenhouse if you want to check that out. But it's great, right? Like my season is no longer April to October. It's February to December. And then even in January, I can still get some stuff out of here. But really, like I've really pushed the boundaries of my gardening season with my greenhouse. So that is like my favorite way. It's always going to be my favorite way or favorite reason to have a greenhouse. And I think it's the most commonly known, but it's also like for good reason. So then when is it not useful? When do I think a greenhouse is not worth it? My sunflowers. I love sunflowers, but I'm not going to use valuable greenhouse space to grow sunflowers. Same thing with my roses. I have beautiful rose bushes outside in my garden. I have lavender. I have even my like thyme and oregano. Those are fine outside. I don't need to get them any sooner. I don't need more of it. My herbs, I used to grow herbs in here, but now I'm like, it grows long enough outside. I have other alternative ways to protect them if I want to push the boundaries longer outside. A tree, right? A fruit tree. I'm not going to put a fruit tree in here because it grows fine outside and I don't need it sooner. Like I'm not trying to go to market sooner. I'm going to use my greenhouse because there's only so much growing space in here. I'm going to use it for the reasons I just mentioned. A greenhouse isn't magic, but you can absolutely get more out of your garden if you have a greenhouse. Now, if you don't have a greenhouse and you are intrigued at what I was talking about, how you can really maximize what you get out of your garden, but you don't have a greenhouse, I got a video coming up for you on how you can garden without a greenhouse and still get the same benefits. So check that out. Otherwise, see you in the next one. If you have a greenhouse, it's worth exploring. Jesus Christ. There are other critters in my greenhouse that scare me.